Men, some of us have extremely physically demanding job roles and we work 30, 40, 50 hours per week. And we have worked the same job for multiple decades. It would be extremely rude to think that those demands placed on us during our job don't have longer lasting effects on our body. So my promise to you, this video will give you actionable concepts and gym-based exercises to counteract the negative effects that your physically demanding jobs have on your body. I really love talking about this subject, massively passionate subject of mine. But before I get into that, a little bit about me. My name is Paul Green and I'm an online coach. I run the Longevity program, which is a laser focused strength and conditioning service for men over the age of 40, in which I aim to improve the strength of the joints, the power and the speed of those gentlemen. Anyway, a little bit more about me. Over the past decade I have trained some of the most elite men across British Defence, including those in the RAF, the Royal Marines and the British Parachute Regiment. The demands placed on these individuals that I've worked with over the years, there is common themes, common trends that happen, especially in these highly elite military units. So what we have to do as physical training instructors and coaches is we have to negate those negative effects with our gym-based training sessions as a foundation, and then we allow them to build strength and performance on top of that. That's the way we conduct our business, and it works really well for reducing the risk of injury and eventually building high-level performance. Like I say, everybody has their own job, and their job is physically demanding. Some jobs may be mentally demanding, but this video is going to be more specific about the physical demands of your job, and again, counteracting them with some good work in the gymnasium. So most men, as we are all purpose driven, we often get tunnel visioned, laser focused, and it's literally all hands on deck to achieve the mission. Usually our job, everything else can be put on weight and come secondary or third to that. But often men don't understand how these effects, how these movements that we do every day, multiple times, because you actually are. If you've got a physically demanding job, like you work on a farm, or you're an electrician, or you're a mechanic, these are all pretty demanding jobs, and they may not appear demanding because you're conditioned to it. You know, you've been doing it for 10 years, but you're constantly lifting, you're constantly on your knees, you're constantly on your hands and feet. You're in awkward positions all day, every day. It's gonna cause dramas sooner or later. And again, most men skip their weekly strength sessions as they are too tired. It's very difficult to get yourself in the gym after 8, 10, 12 hour shift. And again, when you are training in the gym, sometimes a lot of yous are actually not doing the things that counteract the movements and stuff that you've been doing in work. So just this video is going to eradicate all of that. So the plan for me to talk about is vehicle mechanics, tradesmen and office workers. The reason I'm going to talk about those is because I've had a ganders and I'm more interested in male dominant jobs, because this is a male dominant channel focused on educational content for men over 40. All of these up top here are all the exercises in which I'm going to show you shortly. Look forward to them. So we've got vehicle technicians, mechanics, electricians, highly male dominated jobs. Just for fun, if I remember, hopefully I do, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this. There's like 300 occupations, and I'm going to just for fun, I'm going to see the least male dominant jobs. I wonder if you can guess them now. Carpenters join us, so we've got tradesmen, metal workers, plumbers and heating, some more tradesmen here. We've got drivers now. Drivers are starting to come into it. But I didn't put drivers in there. I put office workers in there because I feel like office and driving is very similar positions that you find yourselves in. So hopefully you appreciate the reason of this video. I couldn't go through all of these. There's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of similar movements in there. I'm just going to touch on vehicle mechanics, awkward positions, hands in front of the body a lot, leaning over, leaning back, Tradesmen, multiple different movements, hands and feet, a lot of the time on the knees. Office worker, excessive sitting positions. These are the three most common jobs for men. I'm not interested in the most common jobs for women because I do not coach women. So it's typically musculoskeletal injuries, which is muscular, anything that's attached to the skeleton. Musculoskeletal, ligaments, tendons, muscles. Typically lower back. Then it's knees are most common. Elbow, less common than previous. Hip, less common. And then one thing that summarises it all up is low energy. But just to ask you, is there any that I've missed out there? I know I've been quite general in them issues that do occur in the years of physically demanding jobs. In my experience in working in the parachute regiment, coaching loads of elite men across the parachute regiment, the issues that we have, the demands placed on us, is knee and hip. Not many elbow issues in these elite military units. The reason there's a lot of hip issues is because the positions that we are in, the torso remains a lot forward and we have a lot of weight on our back, and the hips play a massive role in our bodies getting from A to B, running, loaded marches and stuff like that. So there's a lot of demands on the hips, and that's why the hip issues tend to arise. And knees, because there's a lot of impact going through our body very regularly. So lower back as well. So hip, knee and lower back for paratroopers. But again, my knowledge, I've seen a wide range of stuff going on, and you've got a lot of different job roles in the parachute regiment and the military units. There's a lot of people that work in HQ elements where they're, as much as they are paratroopers or they are Royal Marines, they have an office job. And again, I have to treat them differently because they're in an office job. I need to have them counteractive measures at the forefront of my mind in their training sessions. Anyway, did I miss any? Is any that crept into your life with your physically demanding job? Any little niggly issues that you are experiencing or you've experienced over the years? Drop them in the comments because I have got a lot of experience with this stuff. So if there's any way I can help you, just give us a shout. So a couple of random pictures, but they are relevant. Tradesmen, I know it's crazy. This guy's doing a bear crawl, but if you're an electrician, hands and feet constantly. It's not entirely this position. If you're a mechanic, you're constantly in a position similar to this. Your knees are on the floor, you're bent forward, working with your hands in front of you with tools. Electricians, carpenters, what else? Carpenters are flooring. Again, hands and feet, this position here, knees in front of us, elbows in front of us. And that's a common theme. If your knees are in front of you, and your elbows are in front of you, your chest is working a lot more than your back. If your knees are in front of you, your hips are working and your glutes are lazy. But I'm not going to get ridiculously in depth with the technical. I'll lose you. Honestly, I'll completely lose you. So I just want you to appreciate that this position crops up a lot in physically demanding job roles. And then we've got the office worker, which is similar to the drivers, forklift drivers, lorry drivers and stuff like that. Now, what tends to happen is that we end up in positions which are the most relaxing. So people talk about posture and stuff like that, and you've got the guy on the right hand side there who is in the textbook posture position because science says that we should sit a certain way. We, as human beings, are going to sit in the most comfortable position. And whatever's the most comfortable position for us is going to be the best position for us. So you've got some lunatic on the internet saying you must sit in this position, right? I don't care what position you sit in, right? All I care about is that you're doing the counteractive measures. And I call this breaking the mould. When we sleep, our body actually tells us a lot about the mould that we're currently in. And if you are highly, excessively, a job that's sitting, what you'll find is you actually don't escape this position when you're sleeping. You might sleep in the fetal position because that's now where your body is comfortable because you have highly worked hip flexors, highly worked hamstrings, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot going on which has moulded your body into where it is currently. And even when you sleep, which is your chance to rest and recover from the day, your body actually isn't able to escape them positions. Now, this is a very short-term explanation of what I'm trying to say, but multiply that by a year or 10 years or even 20 years. Because a lot of people love what they do for a living. They have a physically demanding job which ticks the boxes of, well-being and stuff like that. We love grafting. Do you know what I mean? We love putting in the effort. We'd rather have a physically demanding job than a job that is mundane and has us being lazy. Do you know what I mean? So there is definitely ticks in the boxes for us in these job roles. But what I'm just saying is we need to break the mold. Before I move on, I just want to say thank you. There's a lot of people jumping on the channel, subscribing to the channel, finding a lot of value in the content that I'm producing, which it makes my day. Honestly, if this is useful to you, honestly, I'm over the moon for that. So thank you for supporting my mission on YouTube in educating the men over 40 in power, strength and speed training and nutrition and a few other bits. And thank you for showing your interest in the longevity program, because it is absolutely awesome. Moving on. So quite a text heavy slide here. Hopefully it doesn't cause too much dramas to them brain cells of yours. So the solution, like I've touched on earlier on, is to train the opposite of what in the gym. In a nice safe environment where you can control all the variables. Train the opposite to what your body does in these job roles. And then obviously to tip that as well in your favour, adopt a high performance meal plan. I've got a video on this. Just make sure you check it out. I literally don't care about you following calories or macros and all that jazz. I literally just give you the meals to eat. Eat this food every single day. You'll be absolutely fine. It's something that I think about when I'm coaching people on the longevity program. If they tell me they're a farmer and they're working 10 hours a week, 10 hours a day, you can guarantee that I'm adding a lot of calories into their meal plan to counteract their low energy levels. Anyway, moving on. You need to strengthen your core to counteract the lower back issues coming up. And when I mean strengthen the core, most people train their core for endurance. Most people do sit-ups 20, 30, 40 reps. Sit-ups, they do planks for multiple minutes. This is endurance. This is not strengthening their core. And what I mean by 360 degrees, don't just strengthen the abdominal muscles on the front, strengthen the sides and strengthen the lower back. A full 360 strong trunk will get rid of lower back issues. Knee extension, hip extension, elbow extension. And I've got a bonus tip on the bottom there, which is a bit sneaky, which get your elbows behind your body. So I'm going to start with the lower back solutions. So like I said earlier on, 360 core exercises. Not interested in endurance training of the core. I want your core to get strong. So you need to train these with high intensity and high resistance. The abdominal muscles are slow twitch muscle fibers and they favour endurance training. They are very rarely trained with the same intent like the rest of our muscles when we actually want to get strong. So the exercise I've got here is weighted plank, suitcase carry, hanging leg raises, weighted sit-up and deadlift. There's a weighted plank. Make sure the circle of the plate goes right through the rear of your belt line on your shorts or on your trousers, right on your lower back. And that will ensure the weight is sat correctly. You will feel a lot of strain in your abdominal muscles when you do this exercise. It's a frigging great exercise. Next one is the suitcase carry, single arm, and what you'll find is, hopefully she spins around here, you'll find, she's spun on the wrong way, never mind, your abdominal muscles on the opposite side have to work in order to counteract the position of this load, this resistance. It can be a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Just make sure you go heavy and make sure you work for about 30 seconds on each side. Really push yourself. Obviously you're going to feel it in your grip a little bit, but what I'd advise with regards to grip, if your grip is terrible, using wrist straps and stuff like that in order to facilitate your grip. If you're training your core and your grip is failing to not allow your core to work optimally, then you need to get a grip of that situation. Right, hanging leg raises. When you're in the seated position, your lower core, it just goes to sleep, completely goes to sleep. There's just no requirement for it to do anything because your comfortable chair just puts it in a really relaxed state. What this does is it really targets that area and it gets it strong. A common misconception in the fitness industry is we shouldn't train muscles that are tight, but this will strengthen muscles that are asleep in that sitting position. With the abdominal muscles on the front, we need to get them involved. The job of the abdominal muscles is to flex the spine. Now, a common thing that we hear is, we should not flex the spine, we should have our back completely straight all the time. Look, if you flex the spine safely, and you're trained to flex the spine, like this, a crunch, what is a crunch doing? A crunch is flexing the spine, and that is the role of the abdominal muscles. So, instead of just doing sit-ups and doing 20, 30, 40, 50 sit-ups and feeling a really nice burn in your abdominal muscles, add on a heavy dumbbell or a plate or whatever it is and do heavy as you can for 10 reps. Do you know what I mean? Get your abdominal muscles strong, because if your abdominal muscles are strong, they will take the strain off your lower back and alleviate lower back issues from work. Do you know what I mean? So straightforward on that. You've seen it before many a times. And another one, which I like to do this at the start of a core session. Deadlift. Deadlift. When you're in that bottom position and you're nice and tight, your core muscles have to work, right, a lot, because the weight's in front of you and your core has to basically allow your body to safely come up with the weight. The way you do this is by tensing all your muscles at the bottom position, breathing in, getting your chest out, and if everything's nice and tight with regards to your core, then you will feel it in your core. You work in your core isometrically here. There's not really a shortening and a lengthening of the spine. Your spine is working extremely hard to stay in that neutral position. Hopefully you understand that, and hopefully you appreciate how deadlift is a really good core exercise. So that's example core exercises to alleviate lower back issues that you may be having in your physically demanding job roles. Get them into your sessions, men, honestly, because instead of doing sit-ups for 20, 30 reps, not going to solve any of the issues. These are going to oppose and break you out of that mold. Next one, lower body exercises, which are going to break you out of the mold. Like I said, these seating positions, having your knees on the floor all the time, these exercises will serve you extremely well. So the Romanian deadlift is a version of a deadlift where your knee doesn't bend that much. You actually remain a fairly extended position as you're doing the deadlift. All the upper body fundamentals remain the same, but the Romanian deadlift allows the hamstrings to lengthen, and this exercise will actually develop your hamstring flexibility. We've got the barbell glute bridge. Like I said, a lot of lazy glutes as we have our physically demanding jobs. It's very rare that we actually have to extend our hips in these physically demanding job roles. We've got a split squat. A split squat's an absolutely awesome exercise because it splits the legs and it allows us to really lengthen that rear leg hip flexor, something that is really tight during the working day. Calf raise, an extremely lazy muscle during our normal day-to-day job. And we've got something which targets muscles that surround the knee. That's a brief explanation, but just like I did before, I am going to show you the exercises in the flesh. So we have a stiff leg deadlift here. Notice how she doesn't bend the knee. She's trying to keep, one sec, I'll just repeat this. Notice how the upper body fundamentals are there, hamstrings stay quite long, and she's not really bending the knee that much. It's very important that you try and maintain a good stretch in the hamstrings when you are doing a Romanian deadlift, or an RDL it's called. Next exercise is, hey, I know that guy. So glute bridge. Our goal is to get the hips as high as possible. Bending the hips, and we're trying to get our hips as high as possible. If we can, get our hips higher than our torso, so a little bit higher with that exercise. So that's the barbell glute bridge, waking up the glutes because they are very lazy during these jobs. Another one is a split squat, and the main thing with the split squat, right, is, look, this is an absolutely awesome exercise, right? It's called the ATG split squat, and the goal of an ATG split squat is to fully flex the ankle and fully flex the knee, right? And the idea of this is to increase flexibility here, increase flexibility here, but also this straight rear leg, we increase the flexibility of that rear leg hip flexor. Again, all of these are weak areas in these physically demanding jobs. However, the way she does it is a little bit different. But one thing I want you to pay attention to, if you have low levels of mobility, if you increase the height of this front leg with plates or with a bench or with a chair or something like that, you actually make it a little bit easier for yourself. But the goal of this exercise is so she doesn't go all the way down, right? And it's a bit of a shame, but the real positive of her doing this in this split squat, right, is the rear leg is straight, right? And if you keep your rear leg this straight, you're going to really stretch your rear leg hip flexor. Rear leg hip flexor is going to get flexible and strong. But the gold standard would be for her to go all the way down so her hamstring is touching her calf. Now, if she can't get all the way down, then she could raise this plate up, another plate added to that stack, and she would be able to get all the way down. Now, if she can get hamstring to calf, what would happen then? She would actually start strengthening these muscles that surround the knee. If she doesn't go all the way down, she's going to limit the quad activation of this exercise specific to the surrounding muscles of the knee. And if you want to strengthen the knee because you've got knee issues, then this needs to happen. But there's still a lot of benefits. If you don't have knee issues, you want to get this exercise in your training program, then this is still a good exercise for you. However, just because of how straight that rear leg is and the amount of flexibility development she's going to get from doing this exercise. So hopefully you appreciate that. I love that exercise, a really good exercise. Next one's a full range of motion calf raises. The key thing is with this, tense the glutes and walk your feet back, hold the wall. You can do it with body weight to start with. And you want to feel the stretch in your calf to start things off. And once you feel the stretch in your calves, then you're just going to raise as high as you can. Sled pull. One thing that's absolutely awesome about the sled pull, right? Straight away, if she had straight arms there, unbelievable, right? She's activating her upper back. She doesn't really need to, but one thing that's great about this, right? See how the knee comes over the toe there? This exercise forces the muscles that surround the knee to work, right? And you can attach a strap or anything you want around a plate, and you can just pull it around the field or something if you want. It doesn't need to be sexy. It doesn't need to be in the gym. You can just buy a plate or buy two 20 kilogram plates or whatever. Put some rope around it, or put a resistance band around it, around the hole. Put the resistance band, gold standard, better than holding it. Put it around your hips, so you sitting into the plate and you just walk backwards for 10 minutes. These parts of your quad right around the knee will be frying. It's absolutely what a feeling it is. Because those of you that have limited flexibility struggle to actually ever strengthen these parts of your quads. The only way you strengthen these parts of your quad is by getting your knee over your toe. And this exercise is absolutely unbelievable for that, by the way. And another one that I really like is this low handle sled push. Low handle sled push forces you to have a good range of motion, right? If you had a high hands, the range of motion would be about half. But because you're low handle, you have to take big steps. You know, like you were going upstairs. But let's say you were going upstairs and it was like you were going 3 steps up at a time. So the more flexible you are, the more low you can put your hands. And what that does is it just forces that glute to top hamstring engagement. And then I'm going to talk about elbow exercises. So elbow exercises, elbow issues, they are very common. And yeah, we need to strengthen the muscles that surround the elbow. With that in mind, because we're doing stuff and there's a lot of our elbows in front of our body and we're constantly using our biceps, usually the biceps are getting worked, we need to prioritise the opposite of that. So if our biceps are constantly getting worked in work, then we need to focus on tricep extension exercises. So we've got dips, we've got weighted dips, we've got tricep rope pushdowns, and we've got forearms as well. We've got some great dips here, men. Notice how he's going all the way down, and see how he's leaned forward a little bit. If you lean forward a little bit on your dips, you're going to focus on the chest a little bit more. If you stay upright, it will be more triceps. But he's going all the way down, and now look at this, right? It's great. He's getting a lot of triceps there, and the main thing is with a tricep dip is you want to achieve maximum flexion of the elbow. If you can also go as far down as you can and get a nice stretch in the front of your delts as well. But again, this is dependent on your ability levels, your mobility levels. Do not shy away from this exercise. If it feels uncomfortable, you just don't have to go all the way down. And if you need to put like a step or something, or a bench underneath, or even a resistance band in order to make that bottom position a little bit easier, then that is completely fine. But this is a really good exercise. The reason it's an awesome exercise, it's a pressing position, but it actually allows us to be elbows behind the torso. And this puts us in external rotation, and it's a position that we're very rarely in during the day. So yeah, a bit nerdy with that, but it's a really, 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 really good exercise. Next one, pretty straightforward. You've probably seen this many a times before, and well, should be a little bit average technique. Well, I say average. The goal of the tricep extension is to extend the elbow only. If anything else happens, it's extra movement, unwanted movement. This lady here is moving the humerus, right? The humerus doesn't need to move. The upper arm should not move. So we stay there. This does not move. You just go back down, you repeat the position. So we are here, that's the start position. And if she rotated her wrists a little bit, that'd be the finish position. But this part of your arm does not move, because if it does move, we then need to use our back muscles to bring it back down again. And we're not training our back. Another thing is the wrist extension. This is a little nugget. These muscles here, you strengthen these muscles, it really helps with golfers and tennis elbow, because these muscles cross over the elbow, like I've said, and we never train these never get trained. So hopefully you appreciate that one. There's the elbow exercises, and the bonus stuff. Get the elbows behind the body. You've got to think, how much is my elbows in front of my body? And if your elbows are in front of your body, your chest is just always active, it's always working. That's probably why you've got absolutely massive chests. But if our chests are constantly active, constantly working, our back muscles are switching off. So it's important to get our elbows back behind our body. And the rule for this is train your back like an absolute gorilla. And like before, I'm just going to rattle through the exercises. So at this position at the top, his scapula, his shoulder blades are nice and high. He will then pin them down, boom! And then he will start bringing his elbows into his back pocket. So shoulders initiate, shoulder blades lead the way. And then elbows down is the cue. Elbows down, because your lats are connected to your humerus, the top of your humerus, elbows down is the cue. If you pull the weight down, then it'll be predominantly biceps. But if you shoulder blades, then elbows, your lats will work optimally. If you can, a curved bar is a little bit better than a straight bar because it allows your elbows to go further down. Another good exercise, right? You could call this a T-bar row. Notice how he's lifted, Notice how he's lifted himself off the floor. Typically benches just aren't high enough for you to get full extension of these back muscles. So make sure you do that. You know, plates underneath the legs, absolutely awesome. Full range of motion. I think you could even go like maybe one higher as well to get even more of a stretch at the bottom. And he's just going to bring it back up. Chest assisted is better because it takes your core out of the equation. Just have another look at this. Completely takes your core out of the equation and it allows you to fully focus on getting these elbows behind the body, which is the goal, breaking the mold, like I talked about earlier on. T-bar row, not all of you have this fancy equipment in the gym, and I know I don't. This is an unbelievable piece of equipment, by the way, man. Honestly, if you've got this in the gym, you need to use it because it's so good. And again, the goal remains the same. Elbows behind the body. If you don't have that fancy bit of equipment, yeah, you can just set up your bench like this. Set up your bench like this and do your rows. So I found this exercise out and I thought it'd be really useful for you. I've never seen this before. I'm going to add it in my own training because it looks unbelievable. So shoulder issues, because we're always forward, we're always internally rotated, it's important to consider external rotation in our gym sessions. And look at this exercise. So it's a little bit of an upright row. little bit of an upright row. So we're now upper traps, yeah? We rotate a cuff group, which is small muscles that surround the shoulder blades, and a little bit of a press. Now, honestly, she's doing that with, I think it might be a 10 or a 15 kg bar. But imagine adding load to this. This would be phenomenal for your shoulders, by the way. So, absolutely love this exercise. All I'd say is you have to be careful with the speed in which you rotate. But that's a mint exercise for the health of your shoulder. Another one I've got for you, which I've seen, it looks unreal. But I do a similar one to this, but I do it with small plates. So she has, I'm going to full screen this one because it looks really good. So she's got a kettlebell and a band, and she locks the shoulder blades in. I'm going to go back. So locks the shoulder blades in, bang, gets the shoulder blades back. So now she's in control of the weight. There's tension on the resistance bands, and then she rotates up into a Y position. Her thumbs are pointing backwards. So she's externally rotated, her shoulder blades are active, and because her shoulder blades are active, this is now going to work the lower traps, because the lower traps have to stabilise the resistance, which is high. When the resistance is high, the lower traps are working. So that concludes the bonus tip of the video, which is get your elbows behind the body. So gentlemen, my promise to you at the start of the video, hopefully I've delivered on it, was this video will give you actionable concepts and gym exercises to counteract the negative effects that your physically demanding job roles put you through. If I've delivered on that promise, then subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me, and I will continue to deliver on my promises of my videos and my lectures every single time I upload. Summary. Break the mould. Now you know what breaking the mould means. And don't be a bull in the china shop until you have a strong foundation. Men, I'm not one of them people I'm not one of them coaches that is going to be so strict and say, you should not do this, you should not do that. Look, I want you to go out there and experience and express yourself in the world, right? But all I'm saying is you just have to get this. Get this strong foundation, and then you can go and express yourself, and you can go and do some crazy crap, right? You can go and do weird shit, but just don't do the weird shit until you've got this. That's all I'm going to say on it. Men, hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you found it useful. A little bit longer this one, but again, I put a lot of effort into this. And I really enjoyed delivering it, actually. It's a really good one for me to do. It's a passion of mine. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.